We are back at it today with another data mine. Today we are getting a brand new class of ship. Pirates are finally coming to the game. No, not those kind of pirates. With today's update, we're going to be getting our first sailing frigate. But that's not all we're getting. We actually get 2 mini events that are coming today, each with their own respective new ships. On top of that, we get 5 new equipments. And in this video, we're going to go over all the stats from this new content. So let us start by going through the patch notes, and then we'll move on to ships, and then on to the equipment. Timestamps below. So the first event today is the 3rd edition of the Fight on Royal Maids event. It will bring us 3 new British ships, and will operate very similar to the first 2 editions, where there will be a world boss. Each server is going to be trying to defeat that boss. If they defeat that boss, you will get milestones. You'll also get milestones for your contribution points. You have to complete easy tasks to get EX tickets to fight the world boss. As long as you are regularly contributing to fighting the world boss and your server beats it, you'll get access to 2 new equipments. The second event that we are getting today is called Halloween Hijinks. This mini event requires you to complete a daily task every day until November 1st. Doing so will get you the new ship as well as 3 new equipment. On top of that, the Mischievous Halloween event will be rerun, which will give you access to Bailey's free skin. This event will also be made permanent after this rerun. We will also get some Halloween themed furniture reruns, and each of the new ships will have a new Halloween themed skin, along with Oklahoma. The L2D skin will also be available for temporary rental.
Janus が悪いですよね。この格好で指揮官に見てもらおうとして。やっぱり見ないでください。指揮官は悪くないよ。私が不注意だから。きっと私が怖がって猫ちゃんをびっくりさせちゃったからだよね。
Finally, the current returning player campaign will be removed from the game, so until further notice, after this update, players coming back to the game will not get the bonuses. However, they will be replacing it with something new and hopefully better in around mid-November. And now, with the patch notes out of the way, let's get into the ships. I'm going to start off with the British ships from the new Royal Maids event. All these ships are attainable through gacha only. Let's start off with the Banner ship. She is the SR Light Carrier SMS Albion. She is the sister to Centaur. Stat-wise, she looks very similar to her sister. Her sister used to be top tier when she first came out, although she's been power crept a little bit. Albion actually is a little bit more powerful. She has some more reload and aviation, but nothing that's not negligible. Like her sister, she's going to have the same efficiencies for her plane slots. She'll have 4 fighters and the option of 4 torpedo bombers. However, unlike her sister, she can actually switch out those torpedo bombers to be dive bombers instead in that 3rd slot. This adds some nice versatility, although in many cases you want the torpedo bombers anyway, but the option doesn't hurt. So stat-wise, she's a little bit more powerful version of Centaur. Let's see what she has for the skills. Skill number 1, when she launches an airstrike, she reveals all enemy subs for 6 seconds. So definitely anti-submarine warfare is strong with this one. It makes one enemy take 10% more damage. It's random, but it prioritizes elites. It does not stack, so if you're playing manual, you can't save 2 and stack them. Also, it launches a barrage when she launches an airstrike. This barrage has 6 parallel torpedoes as well as an ASW bomb. This can deal damage to enemy submarines. It only has a 108 damage times 1 times 1, so it's actually pretty light in terms of anti-submarine warfare. But she does seem like she is definitely going towards killing subs, which light carriers are traditionally known for. Skill number 2 is short and sweet, plus 15% aviation and hit stat. Also, if you have 3 or more HMS ships, including herself, so 2 other, she gets 10% more aviation, so 25% total, and 10% anti-air. So just straight boosts to stats here. On to the 3rd and final skill. She gives 10 points to the max reveal gauge for all main fleet ships, including herself, while she's alive. This means that any of the carriers that you have in the back line or light carriers are going to be harder for the enemy to reveal. This is actually interesting. I like it as a unique mechanic here. She helps hide you better. While you're hidden, your carriers will do extra damage, and they cannot be targeted. So on top of just boosting your other carriers in general, she also has your whole main fleet take 15% less burn damage. This can be good in certain PvE maps. PvP has moved away from HE ammo, and thus fires are not too problematic, but burn damage can really add up in certain instances. Finally, when the Vanguard is healed, if it would overheal, 50% of that overheal is converted to a shield for 5 seconds. While the shield holds, they deal 5% more damage. So it's a max of 5 seconds. If the shield breaks, it will be less than that. So this boosts the whole Vanguard, complete damage output, 5% boost, and it happens when an overheal happens. So it really rewards you for overhealing. This is a really good mob fleet skill. This really incentivizes you to bring her in like a mob fleet and bring her with Perseus or something that has double airstrikes at the beginning that will both heal. You'll likely get an overcap heal. They will get the shields, which will protect them so you don't waste the heals, and they do extra damage. This light carrier seems like a very good support for healing. It's definitely a mob fleet ship. And particularly in like World 14, because we are seeing a focus here in anti-submarine warfare, which is important in those late maps. This ship is actually very interesting. I think it's very exciting. I'm obviously going to pick it up. I think that overcap heal skill is very interesting and alone will get me to pick it up. However, looking at this ship in totality, I think she's weaker than her sister Centaur, who buffs basically the backline's damage. And even to this day, Centaur is not seeing a lot of play. But like I said, if you're a newer player, this is a great ship for mobbing, and you just need to pair her with a healer and throw her in the mob fleet, and she will take you far. Her barrage for the skill number 1 is actually pretty good with 6 parallel torps, and I think because of her uniqueness, she should definitely be on your radar to pick up. Overall, for a mini event, I wasn't expecting anything meta-defining or game-breaking, but I gotta say, I enjoy this edition, even though it's not the most powerful new edition. And with that, let's move on to our other British SR for this event. The J-class destroyer HMS Janus, Javelin's sister, is in fact pretty well endowed with stats amongst her peers. She's even more powerful than her sister Jervis, and Jervis power crept Javelin's stats. That being said, J-class destroyers are not particularly fantastic. So even though she's the best of her sisters in terms of stats, she's going to need some good skills in order to be used. So let's look at skill number 1. At the start of the battle, if there are at least 3 other British ships in the fleet, all British destroyers, only destroyers, gain a shield. This includes herself. The shield blocks 5% of that user's HP, so on a different HMS destroyer, it will have a lower shield if it has lower HP. That shield actually lasts 20 seconds. That's a pretty long shield to last. If that shield is broken or it expires after the 20 seconds, damage taken by the ship that was shielded, just the ship that had the shield broken or that it expired, that is decreased by 10% for 20 seconds. So in theory, they get a 5% HP shield for 20 seconds. If that doesn't get broken 20 seconds more, so until 40 seconds into the battle, you will have damage reduction. This is pretty good, but it also locks her into being in an HMS fleet. And there aren't really that many good British destroyers to give the shield either. Continuing on with this skill, if there is at least one other J-class destroyer, so those are his sisters, they are all obviously HMS destroyers. This could be Javelin or Jervis are probably the 2 best options here. All J-class destroyers will get a boost, 10% firepower, 10% torpedoes, and 10% hit stat. So that includes her and any of her sisters that she's with. So she buffs all of her sisters. That's really nice as a buff. Unfortunately, her sisters aren't very strong to begin with, so they're not something that you probably want to bring, but it reminds me a lot of like the Z fleet, where you're like, oh, they have a lot of good synergy, but they're not really that good to begin with. That's what, the J-class destroyers feel like to me. All right, let's move on to skill number 2, see if that fixes anything. Every 15 seconds after the battle starts, 75% chance to fire a barrage. This barrage includes torpedoes, so that's nice, but it's not particularly fantastic damage-wise. Enemies hit by this barrage take 12% more damage from destroyers and light cruisers for 5 seconds, and it doesn't stack with itself. So every 15 seconds, you basically get to boost up damage by 12%. That's actually significant, and that's interesting. If the barrage fails, which is a 25% chance, it triggers a sonar scanning that reveals enemy submarines for 8 seconds. This is really janky because the two outcomes are doing very different things. One, you are like buffing your other ships and like increasing the damage output, and the other, you're dealing with a very niche enemy submarines that are like, what, World 14? I don't like this skill. Every 15 seconds is an okay frequency. It's not fantastic, but it works. But 75% chance to fire this barrage is just not good enough for me. If I'm using her, I want to have her 12% damage boost. Obviously, it goes for destroyers, which includes herself. And if you use her first skill right, you're probably going to throw her sisters in with her. So this ship could really help facilitate some fun meme fleets, particularly J-class meme fleets. Throw her with her sister Javelin and Jervis, and you could have something fun. It really rounds out that fleet, but I'm not going to say that that fleet's any good. This is more collection that it feels like. Albion is definitely more interesting to me and definitely a better ship than Janus. I'm still going to pick her up for collection and for fleet tech, but if you're low on cubes, I could see you justifying passing on her. The last new British ship that we're getting today is the elite light cruiser HMS Manchester. The Royal Navy is filled with mid-tier light cruisers, and when I'm looking at the stats of Manchester, I don't even think she lives up to those standards. Most of the other Maid girls that are SRs look more powerful. She looks like she's going to be too squishy to survive much with light armor and low HP and not that good of evasion. Damage output doesn't look that great either, so let's see if she has any unique skills that make her stand out. Skill number 1, she gets plus 10% firepower and hit stat when she fires torpedoes, 50% chance to damage herself 15 HP and fire her main gun 1 extra time. Okay, I mean, the stats don't do much. She already has pretty low stats in the first place. She damages herself. It procs only 1 out of every 2 times, and you get 1 extra main gun fire on a light cruiser gun? Yeah, no thanks. Skill number 2, load time for the first round of torps is reduced by 70%. The first round deals 30% less damage, 75% chance on taking torp damage to heal 1% per second for 8 seconds, max triggers once per battle, ends early if she takes damage from skill number 1. Alright, well this skill is a lot, it's interesting, but it's not good. Like, a torpedo reduction is great, 70%, so she's got her preloaded that she has in her equipment, and then she's gonna have one that fires pretty quickly after that. That's wonderful, but she doesn't have great torpedo stats in the first place, and she's gonna reduce the damage by 30%. Like, I don't think I would use this ship even if it didn't reduce the damage, let alone with reducing damage by 30%. That's real amount of reduction. Also, she gets a heal. It's only 8% and only when she takes torp damage. It doesn't heal just the torp damage, but she has to take the torp damage and then she can heal 8%, so it's a slow heal. And the fact that it literally gets cut off when she fires torpedoes is just really interesting. So she has, like, when she takes torp damage, she heals, and then if you fire your own torps, there's like a 50-50 chance that she stops healing herself and hurts herself. Okay, this ship is totally collection only. She's pretty trash. She's got really unique eyes though. But yeah, collection only. All right, now that we finished with the Royal Maids ships, we have one more ship to go through, and that is Royal Fortune. If you're wondering what ship that is, I don't blame you. It's literally a frigate, like an 18th century cannon and wood ship of the line ship. It's actually a pirate ship, like a full-on pirate ship. It's actually a pretty famous one, sailed by Bartholomew Roberts during the 1700s. When this ship was revealed, I was not expecting it to be like a sail ship. So I guess we're moving into a new era of Azur Lane today. Before we go into the stats and skills of this new ship, we have to talk about what this new type of ship can do. First off, this ship is actually a full new faction called Tempesta. I'm not sure if that's going to be like a pirate faction or something, or maybe the old ship faction. We'll have to figure that out with the lore when it comes out. But sailing frigates are going to be separate special ship classes, kind of like those auxiliary ship classes. What's unique about them is they're not going to really act as ships. Sailing frigates will actually be placed in the submarine fleet. In fact, when they come out for the first time, they actually come out underwater. Yeah, that's kind of weird. I guess we're kind of looking at like a Davy Jones looking girl here. So it's coming out of the water. But yeah, it's going to be a submarine. They're going to act like submarines. That being said, they don't have any oxygen, so they're going to almost immediately resurface when they enter the fight. They're going to be focused more on firepower, and just like other submarines in stage maps, they're going to be able to provide fire support. So the easiest and most simple way to look at this ship is as a submarine that resurfaces immediately, so potential to die quickly, and costs extra oil to bring in extra DPS. Also, these type of ships will only be able to have special equipment, think like cannonballs and cannons rather than the traditional guns that all the other ships use. There will be 3 new equipment that come with this event. You will get 2 of one of them and 1 of the other 2. We'll go over those when we get to equipment, but those are pretty much locked to this new ship class. And this ship class can only actually use these types of equipment, which is not a lot. Anyway, with that out of the way, I think we can finally take a look at this brand new ship. Full disclaimer though, this is going to be harder for me to judge on a first glance here. I know how the other ship mechanics work really well. I've never seen how this is going to work, but I'm going to assume some things based on what I know about submarines. So stat-wise, understandably, she's pretty bad. Her health is like that of a destroyer. She only has firepower, which is above what I would say most destroyers have, but it's not particularly wonderful. She has no torpedoes, no anti-air. She's very slow. Her evasion is low. Her reload is low. She really just has some firepower going for her. She seems very easy to kill with the light armor too. Yeah, she's just like pretty weak stat-wise. She has 2 slots for destroyer guns and 3 slots for auxiliary items. This is kind of interesting, but it basically just reinforces the fact that we're going to be focusing on firepower with the damage she's dealing here. Now, you might look at this and say that both slots have main gun +1s, which seems impressive, except the reminder that even though it says that it's a DD gun slot, she can only equip her own special cannon equipment. So she can't use any of like the baguette guns or any of the good guns. She's got to use specific special equipment. And while I haven't looked at it yet, I'm going to guess that 1700s cannons are not going to be able to compete with World War II level guns, at least in terms of damage. All right, let's look at the skills and see what they have in store for this new class of ship. Skill number 1, when entering battle and every 20 seconds after entering the battle, fire a special attack. Enemies hit by that special attack are slowed by 40% for 6 seconds, deal 30% more damage for 30 seconds when entering the battle. So basically she has a pretty decent, pretty consistent barrage with a slow. The barrage actually has tentacles and they have piercing damage through shields. It also is completely immune to any armor typing, which is interesting. So it can just blow through heavy armor just as easy as light armor and through shields. And it's slows them. That's actually not bad. And it happens right when she enters the battle. And, 20 seconds is a little while to wait, but right on the enter of the battle, and you're going to call her with the submarines. So that's really interesting. 30% more damage. There's also nothing to scoff at too. I know she's basically just focused on 2 gun slots with a main gun +1 and some mediocre firepower, but 30% definitely helps. It's going to be really hard to judge how powerful this ship is without seeing the cannons yet. So we're probably going to have to go look at those right after this. But this skill is actually very powerful. I'm not sure if it covers using her over actual submarines, but it's interesting. It gives you a slow, which none of the current submarines do. Moving on to skill number 2. She takes 30% less damage. Well, that's convenient because she really needed that. With her low HP pool, her light armor, her bad evasion, she was really susceptible to just being destroyed immediately on surfacing, which she does immediately when you call her in. So this will at least help her get off a barrage. I'm still a little bit skeptical if she'll be able to survive until her second proc of her first skill's barrage, but at least this is a start. She also gets 20% more firepower. Well, she definitely likes that. She's firepower all the way. She heals 40% of her HP upon entering the battle. This helps if she's in the submarine fleet and you're calling her over and over and over again in your sortie. She just basically, if she has 60% or more health comes back at 100. Now that is a heal. She leaves the battle 5 seconds after HP drops under 50% or after being in the battle for 60 seconds. Well, that's very interesting with her 40% heal. So she's going to stick around until she loses half her health and then she leaves, which is interesting. That makes that heal not as good as I thought when I first read it, because it's not really like she's going to die unless she gets one-shotted. She's just going to leave earlier and earlier every time. In theory, if she's under 50%, then she would just come in and then leave 5 seconds later, because it's, you know, when it hits that plus 5 seconds. So she literally could leave after 5 seconds if she's below 50% health. Of course, she's maxed out at a minute, so you can actually, you know, stay at that 60% health if she lives there for 60 seconds. This is interesting, so you're not going to be able to use any funny, like, business with pearl tears or anything like that. I don't know how to think about this skill. It really is just going to have her come in and leave, which is a little bit different. Like, they had to build some mechanic in because she doesn't have oxygen like submarines, but it basically will treat her like a submarine, but it's built into her skill. That's interesting. And then for her all-out assault, every 40 main gun shots, she gets an all-out assault, and she's got 2 guns that are main guns, each with a main gun +1. So it's really only firing like 10 times. So yeah, she's going to be firing a lot of cannons. This ship is very interesting. This is definitely the one that I want to try out immediately. You can get the ship for free, but we're not going to be able to get her until November 1st. She's time gated, so we're not going to be able to test her until then. But this one I'm very excited to get. It's a free ship, so everyone's just going to get her, but I don't know. She's very unique. A new class. I never thought we were going to get like sail pirate ships. Anyway, we got to move on to the equipment, so we get to truly gauge how powerful she is by looking at what equipment she can even equip. We have 5 equipment that is coming today. We're going to look at the 3 specific equipment to the new frigate class. So the first one is the cannon that she has to use. It's the 12-pounder long gun. It's an SR equipment, so it can go up to +13. It does 16 times 3 damage. This puts it in line with a lot of the purple destroyer guns. Not particularly great. A lot of the gold ones actually fire ×4. This one's ×3, so you're losing out on a good chunk of damage there. The fire rate isn't half bad though, and it does boost firepower with a good coefficient. The armor modifiers are not bad, but they're nothing that special. They focus mostly on heavy armor being better than a lot of the other destroyer guns against heavy armor, but it's still not best. Like, you're still going to want baguette guns or something like that. Those are still better, but 10-80-40 is not that out of line with what the armor modifiers for other destroyer guns are. The effective range is good. I'm interested to see the approach pattern that these frigates are going to use and the time it takes to get up there. Royal Fortune definitely had very slow speed stat, so that should be interesting, but the range is not bad on these. We'll have to see how the spread and the firing angle affects, you know, percent that it actually hits its target. But overall, this gun is not as trash as I thought. It's basically like having to equip a purple destroyer gun instead of a gold one. And destroyer guns are obviously weaker than their bigger counterparts, but with all of those busted skills that Royal Fortune has, it shouldn't be too bad. Like 30% extra damage and barrages with the piercing and all the tentacle stuff. Like, I think Royal Fortune will actually be able to deal a decent chunk of damage. And of course, she feels like you want to use her for her slow. I know I'm talking about her, we're on equipment, but like they're so tied together because this can only be equipped to her and she can only equip this gun. So they are literally just linked. You will get this gun when you complete the event and get Royal Fortune too, because there's no point in having this gun without her, and if you have her, you need this gun. So anyway, that is the SR equipment. We got 2 more equipment related to the pirate ship frigate. Next up, we have sail components. This is a purple one. It gives some HP, which isn't great, but it gives evasion, and at +11, it gives 32 evasion, which is actually pretty high. I kind of wish that I could put this on not just her. This actually seems very good. It seems also kind of weird that they made it part of her equipment because her stat for evasion is just very low on the base ship. But I guess it kind of canonically makes sense that she needs sails to be able to evade. I mean, this is something you're going to have to equip on her, but you can only equip on her anyway. So finally, we get 1-round shots. These are cannon balls. This is a purple equipment as well, and you'll get 2 of them when you complete the event. They boost firepower and reload. The firepower is not a lot of firepower boost, but that 27 reload boost It's actually pretty good. Not as high as an auto reloader, but certainly nothing to scoff at. That can really make a difference in timing. It also has a skill, Submarine Fleet Ammo +1, and that's actually really exciting because there are a lot of maps where you want to use the submarine fleet to provide firing support, and then they're going to run out of ammo before you finish up clearing the mobs and the boss appears. So by actually having a +1 fleet ammo, you can actually improve that and still use the submarine fleet for the boss and all of the mobs. So this actually seems pretty helpful. In fact, I'm kind of waiting for a rerun so I can get a second one of these and stack them. This equipment actually does seem like a real reason to actually use Royal Fortune in your submarine fleet and give up some of that DPS. And that's if you want to use your submarine fleet to provide firing cover and not necessarily bring them in the battle. And having that extra ammo can really help when you need to have them for the mobs. Anyway, I thought this was interesting. I like that they're adding stuff to spice it up. I like that this is a real ship and not like a meta ship or like a lolly ship or something like that. This is a real ship. I mean, it's not World War II era, but this is a real actual ship. That's exciting. It has a real history and they added some quirks to it. I can't be mad about it. I definitely did not expect it though, but it was interesting. All right, moving on. We got 2 more equipments. These come from the Royal Maid event. These will be gotten through point accumulation. First up, we have Albion's exercise report. I wonder if this is going to be good for PvP. So it gives 130 HP and 32 aviation. That's pretty low on aviation. It is purple though, so that's kind of understand that it can't go to +13. So not very good in terms of stats, but it has a skill. When equipped on a Royal Navy ship, +5% evasion rate. That is actually really cool. This is a really good item. I mean, I guess now that we mentioned it is going to be something for PvP, definitely. Evasion rate, very powerful. Has to be on a Royal Navy ship. Preferably it's going to be on a carrier so that you can at least benefit from the aviation. So Albion is a perfect example. Centaur, Formidable. Maybe when we get some more HMS carriers, this could be really good for that in the future. This looks like a must pick up. Like if we get a UR carrier for the British, this seems like something that would go on that. And even though it does have aviation as the stat, 5% evasion rate, like at least in PvP or something, might be worth throwing it on like Vanguard or something. Like that just gives so much survivability. This is a must pick up item. It's very unique. Like 5% evasion rate, I just cannot get over how good that is just to have as a skill. I mean, the stats aren't great, but like we just ignore those. Like that skill is where it is. It is locked to Royal Navy though, so that does make it quite a bit weaker than its true potential, but very powerful. All right, let's move on to the next item, the J-Class Crown. This is a gold item, so it can go to +13. It gives you 410 HP, so that's lower than your standard HP granting gold items, but it gives you 3 luck, which luck is like an interesting stat. It benefits pretty much every sort of thing that you do, but it doesn't have a huge impact. Like it has a little impact on everything. I wouldn't use this alone for stats, but it's interesting. But it also has a skill. When it's equipped on a J-Class destroyer ship, so it can be the new Janus or it can be any of her sisters, Jervis or Javelin, etc. 10% damage dealt to non-Royal Navy enemies. So this is obviously something you want to pick up if you plan on running that J fleet. I think I'm just going to bring it because it's unique, you know, pick it up in case I need it later, but 10% extra damage can't hurt, and they also have all those other damage boosts. So both of these items seem good to pick up and should be like considered to pick up. And of course, you're going to definitely get the other 3 for free. So this should be pick up all 5. Overall, this event seems very interesting. It's kind of funny they put 2 events together. I think they could have gotten away with doing each of these events separately, but we're packing them both in there so that we can get on to our collab event in the near future. Honestly, I'm very excited for this update. This was pretty fun. Like nothing meta breaking, but it was, like I said, a mini event. I wasn't expecting much. If you're low on cubes, you can skip Janus, but I definitely would probably try and pick up Albion, especially if you can get her on daily polls. The equipment is the most important, but if you participate in the world boss, then you should get it just fine. You just need to really log in, do your dailies, and then participate in the world boss, and you should get all 5 items, and then you need a little bit of luck with Albion. It should be an easy cruise event, but it is fun. All right, guys, that's it for me today. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you want more data mine videos like this. Keep in mind, we are having an ongoing PvP tournament, so if you are playing PvP, good luck to you guys. we are giving $600 away for prizes. Take care, guys. Until next time.